Hey, everybody. Welcome to Your Time to Thrive with health and wellness coach Jason Stevenson. There he is on that side. Hey, Jay, how are you?
I'm great, Ben. How you doing today, buddy?
Good, thanks. What are we talking about today?
We're talking about real life goals.
Okay, I don't have any of those, so this should be a short episode.
That we're done. It was great to see you. Have a great day. You certainly do, sir. You have had multiple real life goals, and we've talked about it multiple times. um, the the challenge for me is always trying to channel people. Taking somebody's encouragement and their motivation, whatever brought to me initially, and channel that into what is successful for the long term.
Right. Absolutely. So that's sort of the first thing that you do when you sit down with somebody, right?
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
and how does that conversation usually go?
Well, it's usually a fact-finding mission for me, essentially. I offer the free consultation so that I can see exactly where somebody's coming from and then where they want to go, because that's my job to help them get further with wherever they want to go. But it's usually because there's like an inception moment in their life. Something changed, something happened, they finally realized something that they wanted to change, whether it was to get ready for a wedding, or they decided to run a marathon, or they're looking to lose weight or gain lean muscle, or get ready for football season. Everybody has these finite goals. That's a motivation factor, which is why most people come see a trainer. I want to change something, now I need help. The trick for me is to get a little deeper into that, find out what the real motivation is, so that we can work on that as an ongoing process, but they can also look at that as just a part of their process. It's not that those goals are bad. In fact, I want to put a disclaimer out there, because this is something that we shot for the Fit Tip, and this is something we're talking about today. I don't want anybody to think that those short-term goals are bad, or that setting goals like that is a bad thing, because those will keep you motivated for the short term. The trick is then to set up something that establishes you for a little bit more long term than just the 30-day quick fix or when that race happens. Because if you set the goal to get fit and healthy and in the best shape of your life because you're going to get married, well, then what happens the day after your wedding? Now you've already achieved your goal. You've gone to the wedding. You looked amazing in the outfit. And then you wake up the next day, and because you didn't think about the next step or the long term of that, there is no plan in place.
Yeah. So how do you, well, all right, first my question is, how do you maintain your long-term goals, right? So if you have a real life goal and you have a long-term sustainable goal, and you want to reach there, but the short-term goals, the micro thinking, right? The benchmarks are the things that can keep you motivated. I know that we've talked about that before,
Yeah.
but to not focus so much on the next thing, and to keep, how do you keep the motivation for the long term when you are looking at benchmarks, you know?
You just answered it. That's exactly
Well, that's not
how.
what I meant to do.
See, I told you. It was great seeing you. Have a great day. No, that's the truth is that is how you stay focused for the long term. You keep your focus on that long-term goal, but you stay focused in the micro. Like, I want to hit this 30-day benchmark, or I want to hit this next race, and I use that as an example because a lot of people use scheduling something as a good way of setting a benchmark. And it doesn't have to be a road race, but it's a good example for the conversation here. Say I schedule a road race for mid-August. Then for the next couple of weeks, I'm going to train specifically for that road race. But my long-term goal is to be able to participate in road races for as long as possible, to effectively be capable of just going, hey, I would like to go run this race that's in Kentucky, or I want to go run this race that they're doing in Portland, Oregon this year. Then you set this goal that you can then achieve that short-term goal. But to be able to do that on an ongoing basis and just go run a road race is the long-term goal. So that those benchmarks, those micros that you're talking about, are exactly what keeps you focused, because That's my motivating factor. I'm going to get up today and go run my 3 miles because that's part of my training program to get to mid-August, and that's what helps keep you motivated. That's the conversations that I have with people. This is because you've got that party this weekend. You're going to be careful about what you're eating this week. You're going to be careful about what you're drinking because you have your son's birthday party and you want to have a really good time and you want to let loose a little bit and enjoy yourself.
Right.
So those small benchmarks are what helps keep us motivated in the present moment.
Um, when you have sort of an insurmountable goal, right? Say whether it's that you want to you have a drastic amount of weight to lose, you want to take a normal, healthy-ish, but like kind of, you're out of shape, and you want like to really transform and have like the full, you want to like be chiseled. You know what I mean? How
Yeah.
do you, so any of these things where you're, or you're, maybe you're really really skinny and you want to bulk up and you want to like, anything where it's these huge transformational body shifts, they all take time. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And that can be really frustrating, but those are some of the real life goals that people have, where they want something more or different or better. And but the real life goals take time. So how do you put in a plan at the beginning to keep it sustainable for yourself, so that you're on the same path 2 years from now, 3 years from now? How do you, how do you start that? How do you go from the couch to running a marathon, or whatever it may be that you're, and by marathon I don't mean physically going out and running 26 miles, but I mean like the your long-term goal being a marathon, as in it's not a sprint,
Yeah.
it's metaphorically. So how do you do that?
It goes back to what we talked about before, the repeatable maintainables, and your point of the micros here, right? So it's, what am I doing today? How is this helping me get closer to my goal? Recognize that it is all part of your process and it's all okay. My goal is to, my goal is good to get, let's use the marathon. My goal is to run the marathon next year. Okay, well, today it's raining out and I'm not going to be able to run. Well, okay, so do some stretching, do some range of motion, do some rolling. What are you doing every day in small steps to get you there?
Hmm.
I always use the example of school. Everybody wants to get an education and be able to carry that education into some kind of career path, whether it's higher education or undergraduate degree or doctorate, whatever that path is. It might be high school, vocational school, whatever that is. That always starts with kindergarten, first grade, elementary school. Why am I going to school and I'm gonna learn about American history? This isn't gonna help me be a chef. Yeah, it is. The habits that you learn, the skills that you pick up along the way are going to help you there. Learning to balance your intake and your outtake for your calories, learning to balance your off days and your on days for your training creates longevity. Learning to balance your intensity levels creates a quality of life with your longevity.
Right.
So the answer is start today with a small step forward.
Hmm.
And every step is a step forward. You just have to find the path. It's not a straight line. There's enough analogies out there and enough life coaches in the world that will tell you the path to success is not a straight, even path. It just doesn't exist. And everybody wants that. It's not true. There's going to be setbacks. There's going to be weeks and months where you don't move forward towards your goal. But if you learned that you don't like the way that feels when you don't take those steps forward, then those setbacks were great steps forward because now mentally you have learned that I need to do this differently.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only that, but you know the childhood thing that you just talked about made me think about how, like, when we're, you know generally speaking, when you have a small child, right, you're not looking at them every single day at like a 1 year old and going like, apple. This is an apple. Say the word apple. You know what I mean? And you're not doing, I mean, you are doing that in like a cute way, but you're not like, by the time they're two, you look at them and you're like, holy shit, this kid knows 500 words. Where did this come from? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's because it's a little bit every day, and it just compounds when you're not. So as long as you're doing what you said, a little bit every day, you know, you then you can. That's the thing that always trips me up is like things seem insurmountable,
Mm,
and then because they seem insurmountable, you don't do the little things.
yeah.
Right? So you find that as an excuse to not do the little things because the little things don't yield big results immediately. You know, you're not gonna become a bodybuilder in a day. If you go out to your if you go out to the gym or you go to your basement and lift weights, like it's not that day where you're gonna look in the mirror and your biceps are gonna be popping, you know, or you're gonna lose a bunch of weight in that one day. But if you do a little bit consistently every day for 6 months, you know, then it's the same thing. Like all of a sudden, you know, 500 words, you know? Um,
Yeah.
so I think that that's really interesting. What are some other real life goals that clients have asked you to help with, um, outside or in this realm, but outside of what we've spoken about so far?
I want to answer that, but I want to hit something real quick because you made
Sure.
me think of something. It's one of my favorite sayings: "Life is about the journey," and I think that's part of the process. And thank you, Meg, for the comment. You're absolutely right. Um, I got people talking here. Mindset and mental health. Exactly. It's about your thought process. But if you think I can't do this, I can't run a marathon, or I'm not going to be able to do this, then you've already lost the battle. If your approach is, I can do this, just not right now, or this is what I can do, because that's always the focus. I try to get people that look at something that I've asked them to do and they say, I can't do that. I say, yes, you can. I'm not going to ask you to do something that you can't. But the question is, what can you do? So you might be tired. You might feel like it's a little heavy, but the question is not I can't. The question is what can you do? So what can you do to take a step forward today to help you? And remember that the whole beauty of it, the whole best part of it is that it's all a journey. Enjoy the journey.
Hmm.
Enjoy those moments, enjoy the experience, and enjoy those small steps. Because then when you do look back and you're like, wow, all those interactions that I had with that little guy, and all those times that I was saying things while I handed it to him without saying apple, you just said, oh, you want an apple? You just taught them, so you have succeeded in achieving those micro pieces to align with your long term real
Right.
life goals.
And by the way, the I think the point of the analogy, because I just want to like the point of the analogy is that you do spend time with your child,
Yeah.
uh, teaching them things, and you do spend time, you know, but it's the everyday culmination of it, you know. It's the so that's really important. Let's talk about mindset a little bit more, like Megan just brought up. um, what is the mindset shift between a long-term goal and a or you know actually I do want to ask what the mindset difference is between a long-term goal and a short-term goal, but I also want to say what is the difference between, so specifically we're talking about real life goals in this episode, right? So the real life goals are probably less about the way that you've always talked about is more about quality of life and functioning and you know
Yeah.
and sustainability of your body and your mental health and everything. So what's the mindset difference between short-term goal, I need to lose weight for the wedding, I need to get in shape for an event, I need to run a marathon or a 5K or a road race? What's the difference between that and I want to make sure that I can, you know, be flexible and get up and play with my grandkids when I'm 80? What are the mindset differences between those two things?
It's your focus and what habits you're choosing and how you choose them. It's like we've talked about, it's the repeatable, maintainable, or it's the, is this is this a focus for a short term? Like with your nutrition plan, when we talked about the I'm going to try vegan. So yeah, you're going to experiment with all kinds of stuff, but how are you applying this to that long term? So like the mindset is, what is your thought process behind it? Not just, this is what I want. Because yeah, you want to try a nutrition plan, or you want to run a marathon. That's great. Or get ready. Let's use the wedding. I want to be ready for the wedding. I want to feel amazing. Girl or guy side doesn't matter. You want to feel like you're at your best. So the mindset is, take the end game off of it. Take the finish line off of it. It's not just the wedding. It's not just that day. Because yeah, you want to feel at your best. It's going to be a momentous moment in your life. It's going to be an unforgettable day for you, hopefully, right? So you want to feel amazing. But do you want that feeling to change? Like when you wake up the next day and you're both laying in bed and you're like, wow, we just got married last night. Do you want that feeling of success and happiness with yourself and your quality of life and your health to be done? Like, okay, great, wedding's over. Now we're good. You know, we joke about it in the industry. We call it happy fat, because so many people get to that moment, whatever it is a goal, and then they just drop off. And that's why I talk about this with people, because people leave the gym, they leave their fitness, they leave their quality of life, they leave their habits at the door once they've walked through that goal. I got to the marathon, I ran the marathon, and now I'm never running again. That was awful. You know, well, you just spent an awful lot of time increasing your cardio and your endurance and your leg strength and your core strength. What are you going to do with that next? Like, why, how is that not going to apply to something that you're going to benefit from in the future? It's like the school thing. I shouldn't take classes that don't apply to my education, but if I can apply what I learn in the classes towards my future education, then no class is wasted. But you shouldn't fill your class with just gen eds or electives that don't teach you any life skills or don't teach you anything towards your career path. So your goals should be in alignment with your long-term goals. Your real life goals are, like you touched on, your quality of life, your longevity, your health, your flexibility, your range of motion, your capacity, your functioning capacity. You're given one body in this life. Don't you deserve to feel amazing for as long as possible?
Absolutely. And I think that that's the, so like you just said, like if the goal was to run a marathon and then you run the marathon, you're like, okay, great, I'm never doing that again. You know, it's like, sure, you don't have to go run 26.2 miles or whatever it is
No,
again. You know what I mean? You don't have to like go, okay, I did Boston and now I'm going to New York and then I'm, you know, like you don't have to do that, but you can take the things that you just learned and you can take the skill set, the dedication, the, it's like you talked about the history class, you know, like did the history class benefit you directly in cooking? No. But did you have to do homework for the history class that you didn't necessarily want to do that now, you know, you're familiar with that? Or was it a civics class where you learned something about like Spain and now you're using herbs from that and you have
yeah,
some recollection of, you know what I mean?
yeah,
So the muscle memory from these short-term goals can be wonderful, but but it's about the mindset of keeping the long-term goals in track. I think that that's fantastic.
that's what is the beautiful part of it, because you've already had this conversation with me like 100 times, right? So
I don't recall any
you,
of that.
that's good. I don't remember it either.
Uh,
No, but that's the
First time we've
beauty of it. You've asked for help, and that would be my one strong recommendation. I got great advice from a life coach one time in my life that said, if you want to achieve something, tell a bunch of people about it and ask for help. Because when you enlist help from anybody to help support you in your goals, you're much more likely to achieve them. They're going to hold you accountable, even if they're just friends that are like, hey, how's that training going? Are you really going to run that marathon you told me about? But asking for help from professionals is even better, because then you get professional guidance to help you get further. But I always tell people, talk to your family, talk to your friends, include them in your life goals, because
Mhm.
they're going to hold you accountable. Because
Yeah,
we're like really bad at being accountable to ourselves. it's,
I don't know
it's
what you're talking
terrible.
about. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm very good at being accountable for myself. It's why I'm moving in 2 days and I haven't packed a single thing yet. Um,
Procrastination is a success story of life, but
absolutely.
you have to get a little bit of awareness of that, and then be accountable to somebody else. Exactly. See, and Meg just said that asking for help keeps you helpful and productive feedback, because you're absolutely right. You're gonna get support from people that are going to say, "Hey, I tried this. This might work for you." But that's why this is a conversation for me, because when I have that initial conversation with somebody, I know their short-term plan. I know why they came to me initially, whether they're, like we talked about, what are their goals? I want to get ready for the football season. I want to get ready for the wedding. I want to lose weight. I want to gain weight. Or I'm just trying to narrow down and stay consistent with my habits. Whatever it is, I'm going to figure out their long term goal, and I'm going to remind them of their short terms. But I'm also going to keep dropping in those long term thought processes. I'm going to keep saying that, remember, you want to be able to play with your grandkids on the floor, or you want to be able to keep up with your golf buddies. There's always these little pieces that are gentle reminders that your friends and family and your professional support system are there to help remind you of. Because we're quick to deny it. You know what? I'll just run the next race, or I'll start.
Absolutely.
I'll start on Monday is my favorite one. I
I'll
always ask
start.
people, next week I'm going to start that nutrition plan. Next week I'm going to start doing yoga more often.
Right. So, and that's, it was a year ago that I have one final question after this, but it was a year ago, next week, where it was July, because I've said before, like August 1st, I'm going to do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like the first 2 weeks of July, I was like, August 1st, I'll do this. August 1st, I'll do this. And then it was like July 14th or 16th or something like that. And I was like, screw this. Start. And I like, I wrote in a journal or
I
something.
remember the conversation.
I literally just wrote, what are you doing? Don't start in the morning. Don't start, like,
Now.
start now.
Now.
You don't need one more of anything. You don't need, like, to, you don't need to do anything. You just, if you have the motivation, strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah.
I put out a thing the other day that said, if you have, when inspiration hits, follow it.
Yeah.
And I like, well, yeah, when inspiration leads, follow it. You have to do it. So, like, do it now. So, but my final question is, do you what do you do when you have a real life goal like this and you get knocked off track, right? So, like I've said,
Happens.
right, like I said today, we're moving in 2 days and I haven't packed a single thing yet. Now, luckily, I live with somebody who is, just incredible and enabling, most likely, and is, taking care of most of the common things. But like, when life gets crazy, like it is this week, stuff like that. What are and things are going to happen. Situations are going to happen in your life where big moments come up. You can't do something you were supposed to do. You have to travel for work, anything like that happens, and then boom, you get knocked off of your routine. And then sometimes in 2 weeks or 2 months, when you get back to the routine, COVID, like
Right.
there are probably millions and millions of people who were on a really good path in the beginning of March who have been knocked off of that path. And if they're able to go back now, September, next January, whenever it is, when they're able to go back to something similar, they won't, or they'll be too distracted, or like, how do you do that? when something big pushes you off path, how do you get back in a real life goal?
Oh, it's a couple pieces there. And I'm going to quick comment for Lori over there. The magical Monday thing is absolutely true. Everybody postpones it. That would be my suggestion. Don't postpone it. Um, it the focus on having your real life goals for the long term is what will keep you focused, because it's always the bike analogy. You know, if you're learning to ride a bike, you're going to fall off a couple times. What do? Do you just give it up because you dropped the pedal and just fell over? No, you
Absolutely.
just yeah, screw that. Who needs to ride a bike anyway?
No,
You can just walk, can't you?
you can
Um,
just walk.
or just drive.
I'm walking right
But
now.
yeah, see. But no, the analogy is always the truth, though. It's get back up. My suggestion is, whenever you find yourself off that path, immediately recognize that that is what has occurred and reorient yourself.
Right.
Talk to somebody else. Get somebody else to hold you accountable. Talk to somebody else that's a good professional, or talk to a good friend and say, look, I was really thinking about running that marathon, and I don't know if I can get back out on the horse there and just get up and run again. Because then they're going to say, yeah, you can. Get up, go run, get back up on that.
Absolutely.
But that's if you have a long-term goal, because oftentimes those short-term goals come to pass. So if you get really knocked off like everybody did with COVID, then you're going to pass that moment. You know, like that race got canceled or that wedding got canceled. Now what am I going to do? You haven't set the goals that are going to help you get there in the long term, so that you have a future plan. You know, it's like saying I want to retire by a certain age and I want to live comfortably through my retirement, but I just got fired from my job. So does that mean you're going to stop working? You're
Right.
not going to go get a new job? Like, of course you're going to lose a job, or of course the job situation is going to change, or you're going to get a different position. That doesn't mean that you change the long-term goal of a quality of life into your old age where you don't have to keep working. You got to keep
Absolutely.
going.
Absolutely. And I couldn't have said any of that better myself, of course. That's why it's your show. But
I doubt that. You're pretty good with your linguistics.
well, I do want to say that what we talked about a minute ago about don't wait, just strike when the inspiration hits, and don't put off something that you need to do. I don't think I've ever gotten up and just carried my computer in the middle of a show
It was awesome.
before, but
To get water.
but
I
we
love it.
always have a conversation about how I need to drink more water. And again, if I don't, if I didn't get this water
Get
right
up and
now,
walk.
I can't. I'm already late to go set up prep for another show. So I had to. Cheers. I know. Well, whatever.
I agree. And let's end on that, man, because you got other stuff to do. And I'll recognize Meg again on that. You're absolutely right. It is never too late. We'll leave it at that. It is never too late to set new goals. It's never too late to reset old goals. It's never too late to talk to other people about your goals. And it's never too late to ask for help.
Speaking of,
buddy.
where can people find you?
In my kitchen right now.
It's on the screen. It's on the screen. It's on the screen. It's on the screen.
Easiest way to find it is thrivetrainingteam.com. That's the website. There's contact information on there. There's all kinds of links and Facebook and Instagram and whatever you need. I'm here for you. If you have questions, just ask. That's what I do.
Absolutely. Also, if you're watching, if you're listening to this as a podcast later, watch us live on Wednesdays, 11 a.m. On Facebook Live and YouTube and stuff. Because then you get to see inside Jason's house, and you get to watch me walk around and get water or whatever the hell we're doing. So
right? We're gonna make that part of the trip. Where's Ben going today?
Absolutely. All right. Thanks, Jay. Say goodbye to everybody.
Thank you, Ben. Everybody have a great day today. Be good to yourself. Remember, your future self will thank you for it.